triplets. Let's look at some triplets. Surprisingly overlooked topic in the jazz improvisation theory world. It's important to understand that when we're playing swing, we're playing 8 notes, but they're swung 8 notes, but those are not triplets. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at triplets. And again, for inspiration, I'm going to use this book. I've used this book in many of my videos. If you follow my channel, you know I love Jerry Bergonzi's books. So this is volume 4 of Jerry Bergonzi's Inside Improvisation series, Melodic Rhythms. And I'm going to go to page 80 and look at a page here. The chapter is called In the Pocket. And take a look at some triplet rhythms and how we can use them, how we can apply them to our improvisation. So it's to get better at triplets, better control, rhythmic control when we're improvising and when we're playing with other musicians, but also develop this awareness of how these triplets work. So let's get right into it. The tune I'm going to use is Honeysuckle Rose. So I'm going to use my iReal Pro and play Honeysuckle Rose, but I'm just going to play the A section. So here's Honeysuckle Rose, and I've set the comping rhythm to jazz afro, so it's like an Afro-Cuban 6/8 kind of feel instead of swing. And let's just play scales in triplets. So the scale would be C mixolydian. And here I'm just gonna play whatever. Again. Then maybe try to improvise using just only triplets. Try to play consecutive, just keep the triplets going. But maybe just do it for the first half of the form. Here I play whatever. So instead of trying to play triplets over the whole tune, which is a little bit much, I divide the tune into different sections, and so only play triplets there, but then I give myself some room to breathe and do something else. So it's obviously going to be easier to play triplets if the subdivision, the feel of the groove is based on triplet subdivisions. Like this is some kind of 6/8 rhythm, but it could be even easier if I take like a 12/8 kind of rock beat. And if you go to the settings in iReal Pro, you can pick pop, and then there is something called rock 12/8, and that sounds like this. Here the triplets are even more obvious. You get the idea. And of course you can change the tempo to wherever feels more comfortable for you. Okay, so let's go to this page 80 in the pocket in this book. Here's a bunch of different kinds of triplet rhythms. I'm gonna play them first as scales, and then I'm gonna try to improvise using that rhythm. So I'm gonna try to keep that rhythm alive, as it were. Then I encourage you to do the same. that was like a scale as a scale. Now I'm just gonna try to improvise with that rhythm. So at this point, I'm not super concerned if my solo ideas, my soloing ideas are interesting. I just want to make sure that I play the rhythm correctly. So next one sounds like this. Okay, improvise. Let's do the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. Try to make the notes long. Like this. And try to improvise using that rhythm. So there's a difference if I play it like this as opposed to when I play it like that. If I don't have a click, we tend to kind of shift the gravity of the phrase so we hear it differently, or we hearing it wrong, as it were. Sounds like I'm playing do 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 do, but I'm playing one right. So that's the kind of awareness that you need to develop to be able to play on a higher level of musicianship. So also when I do these kind of syncopated rhythms that starts with an upbeat, I tend to do like I hit the guitar, the string with my pick, so that it makes it more tight. And that's fine. I think it's fine to do that, even though you ultimately want to be able to not do that as well. The next one is kind of similar, but it has like a reversed every other time. It kind of switches back and forth. Improvise. Next one sounds like this. The next one is interesting. It's gonna give us a kind of a polyrhythmic feel. So it's almost like if I played like this, 4 notes per. This is a technique people use all the time. You group the triplets into 4-note groupings. But if I omit the last note of those 4 notes, I get the rhythm we were just doing. Here is another rhythm. So I'm just playing a C mixolydian scale over those 2 chords. So it's basically just, instead of playing the whole tune, honeysuckle rose, I'm just working on the A section. It is in those types of situations where you have like a static chord that you want to do something more interesting. So the next one is kind of, it might look really simple, but we want to make sure that we do it right. So there's a quarter note triplets, which is basically every other 8th note triplets, right? So if those are the 8th note triplets, the quarter note triplets are every other 8th note triplets. So they're basically like 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 got to got to got to got to got to. Let's work on that. So it's almost like I'm playing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. If I do it like this, you'll hear it. But what if we shift this phrase with an 8th note or push it? It sounds like this. And if I play them like quarter notes, so it's the same thing, just pushed an 8th note triplet. This is a good one. Okay, so there are a few more complicated variations in the book, but I'm gonna stop there. And I'm gonna go back to the 6/8, and it's a 6/8 clave. If you don't know anything about claves, I have a really, if I may say so myself, good lesson on the clave that not a lot of people watched. But understanding the clave also makes you understand how you give the music this kind of forward motion that you need. When the forward motion is lacking, and you hear jazz and there's lacking forward motion, it's terrible. It's really, even if the musicians are good, if it's lacking forward motion, it's like that tune, right? If it ain't got that swing, it don't mean a thing. So it's one called Afro 6/8, which is Afro-Cuban. You can kind of hear it. So bum bum ba dum 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 gun 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 gun. So you can play the scale like that. So I'm feeling a 6/8. This is not really the idea of the clave to play it like that, but I think it's good to practice it like this, to really get it into your system. Improvisation. Can also be like this, a little bit different. So I'm moving kind of fast here for the sake of the video, but if you are kind of unfamiliar with this stuff, you should spend a lot of time. Set the drum loop or the iRhythm Pro to this, and then just play these rhythms for a very long time. Don't worry if your playing doesn't sound interesting. Just practice a rhythm. You could also, of course, practice a rhythm. All the stuff you could apply to rhythm guitar. This book by Bergonzi is for horn players primarily, but all this stuff is also applicable for rhythm guitar. Another thing you can do is to take licks that you already know and turn them into triplets. Let's say you have some licks under your fingers that your pet phrases, and you get sick of them. We all have this feeling, I think, of playing something. It's like, oh God, I played that lick again. And instead of trying to get rid of your favorite licks because you're sick of them, they're not gonna go away because they're probably so much like in your system that you are going to play them. But what you can do, instead of trying to get rid of them, play them differently. You can play them as triplets. I think the first jazz lick I ever learned was this. So if I play that as eighth notes, it sounds like that. But what if I play it as a triplet or as triplets? That sounds much more interesting to me. Another lick that I learned early on was by Scott Henderson, this lick. So it's like a melodic minor lick also. But what if I play that as triplets? he actually does that. He showed me that lick, and then I was listening to Tribal Tech. I think it's on the Dr. He album. Not sure about that. But somewhere, I think he plays acoustic guitar. He plays that lick, that very lick, as triplets. And I remember, I thought that was interesting. Scott Henderson was very big on being able to kind of manipulate your licks and play just fragments of the licks and being able to kind of play in and out of them. So you can start them on different places in the bar and you can kind of play something out of the lick and stuff like that. Maybe that's a topic for another lesson. A very good example of a jazz musician who uses triplets a lot is Herbie Hancock. And I think it's on that album 4 and More. If I'm not mistaken, it's a very good example of how you can use triplets in your solos. Adam Rogers uses also like triplets a lot. If you get really good at this, it's almost like you can start to play like if the triplet is the new pulse. So you play like you would normally play eighth note lines, but as triplets. I will see if I can demonstrate. I have to speed it up a little bit, I think, to show what I mean. If I start with 4 grouping. That was a little bit fast actually. But it's almost like the new time takes over. You can start by doing 4 note groupings. And then kind of just, after a while, you kind of start to hear that as a new pulse over the regular pulse. Alright, so I hope that gave you some ideas on how to work on triplets. If you want to work on this stuff, you need this book, Jared Bergonzi, Melodic Rhythms. You need the app iReal Pro. And if you want this exercises we just did, the rhythms, is on my Patreon page as a PDF. And as always, I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I shall see you next time.